6 most mysterious ancient tombs recently discovered by archaeologists that shock the world. Have you ever wondered what really lies beneath that seemingly lifeless layer of earth and stone? Is it merely the remnants of a long-lost era, or could it be a gateway to mysteries that have never seen the light of day? Welcome back to Ancient History. In today's journey, we're going to uncover pages of history buried deep beneath the ground, where even modern science sometimes falls silent in the face of the unexplainable. Throughout human history, archaeology has recorded countless groundbreaking discoveries, but among them, ancient tombs stand out in particular. These places, which appear to be nothing more than final resting grounds, often conceal strange and chilling secrets within. Mysterious drawings on stone walls, mummies in bizarre positions, artifacts that don't belong to the era in which they were found. These findings raise countless questions that still have no clear answers. Could these be remnants of ancient rituals shrouded in secrecy? Or perhaps evidence of a lost civilization that once existed and vanished without a trace? These remain open-ended questions with no definitive conclusions. But if you're someone who loves exploration, craves suspense, and is endlessly curious about the shadowy past, then this video is definitely for you. So, what exactly have archaeologists discovered in these mysterious ancient tombs over the years? Join me now as we embark on a journey to unearth secrets that have been buried for thousands of years. The mass grave of 500 women and children. The bloody secret beneath the Gulag 191 death camp. Beneath the seemingly lifeless soil of a peaceful countryside in southwestern Russia, near the border with Ukraine, a horrifying truth has just been unearthed after decades buried in silence. A mass grave containing over 500 skeletons of women and children has been excavated, not from prehistoric times or an ancient civilization, but from the mid-20th century in one of the darkest chapters of human history, World War II. This excavation site belongs to the Gulag 191 concentration camp, a place long forgotten after the fall of Nazi Germany, but now resurfacing as a haunting reminder. The camp was used to imprison those whom the fascist regime deemed enemies of the empire. Not soldiers, not spies, but women and children, the most vulnerable, defenseless victims, herded into what was called the final stop of life. Behind barbed wire fences, under tattered tents, and amidst the bone-chilling cold of Eastern European winters, thousands were forced to live in fear, hunger, and despair. And when death came, they were not given a proper burial. Instead, their bodies were dumped into deep, nameless pits, without a trace, without a farewell. This is where archaeologists recently discovered 500 skeletons, mostly women and children, bearing bullet wounds to the skulls, broken bones, and a silence that has lasted for more than 70 years. What makes this discovery especially heartbreaking is that almost no personal belongings or valuables were found with the remains. Only a single damaged cigarette case, a lone surviving memory amid the ruins. A small artifact, yet one that speaks volumes. These were not prisoners of war. They were not combatants. They were mothers and children, captured, tortured, and killed without any chance to survive. Mikhail Sagodin, the lead archaeologist of the excavation, confirmed that most of the bones belonged to very young individuals. Some girls were only about 7 or 8 years old. The wounds on their bodies, close-range gunshots, shattered limb bones, are clear evidence of unimaginable cruelty inflicted by the perpetrators of these crimes. A particularly haunting detail comes from local historian Viktor Strelkin, who said that for many years, villagers had seen fragments of white bones appear after heavy rains or landslides. They had walked past these remains every day without knowing, or perhaps knowing but too afraid to speak out. Now, after so many years buried in silence, the truth can no longer be ignored. One can say that this mass grave is not just an archaeological discovery with historical value, but a sorrowful echo from the past, of erased lives, untold stories, and wounds that have never healed. It forces us to face a harsh reality. In war, humans can become more ruthless than any nightmare. What do you think when you hear about a grave like this? 500 lives crushed, not only by bullets, but also by decades of silence. This discovery leaves one wondering, how many more truths remain buried beneath the earth? How many souls are still waiting to be named and properly remembered? Looking at these remains, no one can continue to believe that war is glorious or heroic. It only leaves behind unspoken pain, memories no one wants to recall, and tragedies that history demands we record to ensure they never happen again. And perhaps the scariest part is not what happened, but that we once allowed it to happen and stayed silent for far too long. The mass grave of 227 children and the most horrifying sacrificial ritual in human history. If one day you happen to wander into the wild lands of Pampa La Cruz, a windy plateau in Peru, you might never imagine that right beneath the dry earth lies the resting place of hundreds of young souls, lives once offered to the gods in a brutal sacrificial ritual over 1,400 years ago. But did you know? The mass grave of 227 children recently unearthed is one of the most shocking archaeological discoveries in recent years. It wasn't war nor disease that caused their deaths. These children, aged from 4 to 14, were deliberately killed as part of the Chemu civilization's ritual offerings, a powerful empire that existed before the Incas. You might wonder, why children? Why sacrifice such young lives? The answer is tied to an ancient fear, the fear of nature's wrath. The Chemu believed it could only be appeased with human blood, and the tragedy began with a natural phenomenon familiar to us today, El Niño. According to historians and archaeologists, the Chemu saw El Niño, bringing heavy rains, floods, crop failures, and disease, as a sign of angry gods. Without science to explain it or technology to control it, they turned to rituals. But these rituals were not mere prayers. They were cold, ruthless, and deeply religious sacrifices. Imagine hundreds of children brought to an open field, accompanied by the sacred camelids without humps, important animals in Chemu culture. Each child, whether from common folk or nobility, dressed in fine clothes and wearing sparkling silver earrings, was killed according to a predetermined ritual. Many of the skeletons still have skin and hair preserved, making the scene hauntingly vivid. But this is not the first time Pampa La Cruz has revealed such a gruesome secret. In 2018, 56 children's remains and 140 sacrificed camelids were found in the area. Yet the latest discovery of 227 children surpasses all expectations, making it one of the largest known mass child sacrifice events in human history. Do you feel a chill thinking about what happened here? I cannot stop picturing those children, lives stolen too soon because adults believed their deaths would save the crops. What could be more tragic than a society willing to sacrifice its future to buy temporary peace? The Chemu built a brilliant culture, with sophisticated administration and impressive architecture. But behind that glory was a darkness, where religious rituals took precedence over the value of life. And that is why we cannot view this ancient civilization with admiration alone. Today, as modern humanity struggles with climate change, drought, and natural disasters, are we really any different? Maybe we no longer offer human sacrifices to bring rain, but are there other kinds of sacrifices happening through apathy, greed, and harmful decisions affecting future generations? That mass grave, beyond its archaeological value, serves as a mirror reflecting history, religion, and ethics. It reminds us that behind the splendor of any civilization may hide crimes, and that true progress lies not in technology or power, but in how a society treats its most vulnerable. What do you think when you see the photos of the burial site of those 227 innocent children? Does it make you reflect on the past or ponder the present? Please share your thoughts below. For me, it is a deep sadness and a reminder that history is never something to be forgotten. The mysterious red coffin and the rebellious princess, revealing a shocking tomb in Chinese history. On the wild peak of Turkey Mountain in the Inner Mongolia, Autonomous Region, on a day in early 2003, a team of Chinese archaeologists unearthed an ancient tomb that at first seemed ordinary, but as soon as the first layer of soil was removed, a breathtaking mystery began to emerge. A blazing red coffin with no epitaph, no message from the past, only an unusual bright red hue glowing beneath the cold earth. What made this 1,000-year-old tomb so extraordinary? Why was the deceased placed inside a coffin whose color completely contradicted local burial traditions? In the Central Plains of China, black is the traditional mourning color, symbolizing solemnity and farewell, while red is typically associated with joy, celebration, or sacred power. The presence of a red coffin in the northern mountains, home mainly to minority tribes such as the Khitan, not only challenged initial assumptions but also opened up a buried historical story spanning over a millennium. The coffin was not just red, it was intricately carved with delicate patterns, so sharp and precise that experts held their breath while examining them. Each pattern seemed to tell a part of a memory, a piece of identity that the living wanted to preserve for future generations. Though there was no inscription, the coffin itself became a vivid record of the person buried inside. When the coffin was finally opened, all eyes were drawn to the face-covered body, a burial custom rarely seen in traditional Chinese funerary culture. The woman inside was dressed in 11 layers of clothing, but after so many years of decay, the outer layers had almost completely disintegrated. Only upon uncovering the innermost layer did the team gasp at the discovery of a dark black liquid surrounding the body. Not groundwater, but mercury, an ancient preservation technique believed to be reserved only for especially royal or highly ritualistic burials. All these details raised many questions among specialists. Who was this woman? Why was she so carefully preserved, yet buried in a simple tomb with no signs of nobility? Answers gradually emerged as historical records were cross-referenced with the artifacts found. The woman in the red coffin was identified as Princess Yelu Dugu, sister of Liao Taizu, the founding emperor of the Liao dynasty, a dynasty established by the Khitan people that once ruled northeast China in the 10th century. According to historical texts, after ascending to the throne, Liao Taizu had a grand ambition: to abolish the traditional clan system and build a centralized political system similar to Han Chinese dynasties. This plan faced fierce opposition from many Khitan tribes, including Princess Yelu Dugu herself. She was known as a strong, intelligent woman with great influence among the local nobility. Unwilling to watch her people's culture be assimilated, she participated in a rebellion and ultimately was imprisoned by her own brother until her death. Because she had opposed the supreme power, Yelu Dugu was denied a proper royal funeral. No epitaph, no stone statues, no offerings. The tomb was simply constructed as a way to erase her name from history. But the striking red color, it seemed to be her final voice, a declaration that she did not surrender. Thus, the red coffin is not just a strange artifact, it is a powerful symbol of resistance and the desire to preserve identity by a woman who dared to challenge an empire. More than that, it serves as a precious cultural record of funerary customs, political power, and the role of women in ancient Chinese minority tribes. History is sometimes written not just in words but in colors, patterns, and silence. Princess Yelu Dugu's red coffin is proof of that. A strong memory unearthed not only from the earth but from the very depths of human history. The ancient Ming Dynasty tomb containing a mysterious treasure. Nearly 2 decades ago, in Hubei province, China, an extremely unusual tomb was discovered. At that time, experts often referred to it as the water tomb. What caused a stir across China was that this ancient tomb was believed to hide the treasure of a famous royal figure who lived during the Ming Dynasty. Specifically, in 2001, archaeologists accidentally uncovered this tomb. After locating the entrance, those conducting the excavation encountered a very rare and strange situation. The stone door sealing the tomb's underground chamber was leaking water continuously. This indicated that the tomb had likely been submerged underwater. Witnessing this, everyone at the site was stunned. Most ancient tombs were designed to be water-resistant and prevent moisture. So why was this particular tomb flooded? Because of this unusual condition, the team had to carry out an extensive water drainage process that lasted for 12 consecutive days. It took nearly half a month to remove the enormous volume of water inside the tomb's underground chamber. Once inside, everyone was amazed beyond belief. The tomb contained a treasure trove that had been perfectly preserved for hundreds of years. Statistics showed that this Ming Dynasty tomb contained approximately 5,300 artifacts, including over 700 pieces inlaid with precious stones. Moreover, many treasures buried underground were identified as imported items from foreign countries. The discovery of this priceless treasure made the tomb the subject of widespread public discussion at the time. Many believed that the tomb's occupant was either a prince or a royal family member. Even some experts suggested that the person buried there was closely related to the Ming royal lineage. So, who was the individual laid to rest alongside such a massive treasure? Was this person a famous figure of the Ming dynasty? After many days of studying the artifacts and consulting historical documents, the identity of the tomb's occupant was finally revealed. As expected, the tomb belonged to Prince Liangjong, a young regional prince from the Ming era. Prince Liangjong's real name was Zhu Timu, born 1411, died 1441. He was the nephew of Ming Chengzu Zhu Di, the ninth son of Emperor Ming Renzong Zhu Gaoji, and the younger brother of Emperor Ming Xuanzong. Zhu Timu was the first and only prince of Liang during the Ming dynasty. Historical records describe him as exceptionally talented, studious, virtuous, mild-mannered, and humble, beloved by both his father and elder brother, the emperor. Prince Liangjong ruled for 17 years, but sadly died in 1441 before reaching 30 years old. He was buried at Mount Yuling. Because Prince Liangjong had no sons, his title was not inherited, which explains why the enormous amount of gold, silver, and treasures he owned were buried with him as grave goods. Prince Liangjong lived during the prosperous period of the Ming dynasty. During this time, Zhenghe made multiple voyages to the Western Oceans, bringing back many foreign treasures. This explains the presence of foreign origin artifacts found in the tomb of this royal prince. Ancient monk's tomb containing dolphin remains. In September 2017, archaeologists made an astonishing discovery at Chapelle Dom Hue, a small island off the coast of Guernsey. This place was once home to medieval monks. During the excavation, researchers uncovered a mysterious tomb containing the skeletal remains of a dolphin. This finding shocked the scientific community and raised many difficult questions. The tomb was buried deep underground, constructed from locally sourced gneiss stones found on the island, forming a rectangular pit. Unusually, the tomb was oriented northeast to southwest and located near the ruins of a structure that archaeologists believe may have been a medieval chapel. In addition, during the excavation, researchers also discovered several ceramic and flint artifacts dating back to prehistoric and medieval times. However, the most astonishing discovery was the dolphin skeleton. According to historical records, dolphin meat was a popular food during the Middle Ages, especially in the 13th and 14th centuries. There is ample evidence that people during this period hunted, butchered, and prepared dolphins for consumption. What puzzled archaeologists, however, was why an animal that had been slaughtered would be buried in a tomb. Some hypotheses suggest that the burial could have been related to a failed attempt to preserve dolphin meat with salt, or it might have been part of a special ritual involving the animal. Mr. de Jersey, an expert in archaeological research, noted that the ceramics found near the tomb date back to the 14th century. Yet the strangeness of this discovery did not end there. The dolphin remains were affected by the soil's pH level, which complicated efforts to determine their precise age. This is one of the reasons why the story remains an unsolved mystery. Mass grave in Poland's Valley of Death. Recently, Polish archaeologists uncovered one of the darkest secrets of World War II history by discovering a mass grave containing nearly 500 victims of the Pomeranian crime. This grave was found in the Pomerania province, the site of one of the most brutal massacres in wartime history, where the Nazi regime not only occupied but also caused the deaths of thousands of innocent Polish civilians. Most of the victims were local residents, including members of the Polish resistance movement, who were murdered by the invading forces between 1939 and 1945. In 1939, when Nazi Germany invaded Poland, the Pomeranian crime became one of the first large-scale massacres. More than 12,000 people were killed in the forests surrounding the village of Piaśnica, along with 7,000 others buried in Szpęgawsk. These killings were a prelude to further Nazi atrocities during the war and laid the groundwork for the crimes of the Holocaust. However, the truth about these massacres did not end there. After the war's conclusion, the Nazis returned in 1945, continuing executions and attempts to erase all traces of their crimes. To cover up evidence, the Nazi forces exhumed the graves and burned the victims' bodies. But these efforts could not completely hide the truth. Using modern technology such as LiDAR and ground-penetrating radar, archaeologists discovered the traces of these mass graves. By analyzing artifacts and skeletal remains, the research team found wedding rings, one belonging to Irina Sidłowska, a female fighter in the Armia Krajowa resistance. These artifacts not only prove the brutality of the Nazis, but also reflect the deep loss suffered by families. Researchers hope to identify more victims through DNA analysis, and eventually, the Valley of Death will become an official war cemetery to honor those who sacrificed their lives for freedom. As you can see, each discovery opens a new chapter in Poland's painful history, reminding us of the devastating cost of war and the cruelty humans can inflict when power is abused. Every ancient grave discovered is not just a resting place for the past, but a doorway to mysteries never before unraveled. From chilling rituals to buried historical stories, all continue to astonish archaeologists and the public alike. How many more secrets do you think still lie deep beneath the earth, waiting to be uncovered? Don't hesitate to share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to explore more mysterious discoveries where the past never stays silent. Thank you, and until next time, goodbye and see you again.